Well, I think at this point, I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves, apart from myself, and just to say you're all so very welcome, and it's lovely to have you all here. Um, if you can keep yourself on mute, except when we say unmute and applaud, that would be great because it helps with the connections. Um, so also, I would just like to say, do feel free to put in the chat comments or exchange news or just say if you like something or whatever. And if you want to save the chat at the end, you just press the three little dots at the top. So on to this amazing issue. So, and it's lovely to see so many fabulous poems in here. This is issue 18, Bugs. With these days of ever more disturbing political and environmental news, we were enormously pleased to bring the spotlight onto the role of bugs. All manner of bugs in life today as our theme. From cockroaches to computers, we enjoyed all the poems sent in, and enormous thanks to everyone who submitted and contributed from all over the world. The majority of poems featured insect bugs. And this felt fitting as 80% of the world's earth animals species are insects, and their importance, despite their individual, relatively minute size, cannot be overestimated. Without bugs, life on Earth would simply cease to exist. The naturalist David Attenborough, who last week turned 100, probably did more than anyone to bring awareness into our homes of the natural world and of unloved insects, that we might not actually want those insects in our home. So David has had several species named after him. In 2012, the Australian goblin spider was given the name Prosopalpus attenborough. It's tiny, about 1.5 millimeters long. And for his 100th birthday, as you probably know, the slightly larger parasitic wasp, which is about 3.5 millimeters long, was named the Attenborough Noculus tow wasp. So there are over 1 million named species of insects in the world, and estimates the total real number are probably closer to 5 to 10 million. Some say 80% of insect biodiversity remains undiscovered. Take butterflies. There are over 60 species in the UK, but closer to 20,000 species worldwide, and they're on every continent except Antarctica. Attenborough says butterflies lift the heart. Which brings me back to issue 18 and its wonderful poems, particularly about butterflies and stunning illustrations, and the generous interviewee, Patience Agbabi, and our fabulous team of book reviewers, Julian Bishop, Richard Skinner, S.K. Grout, Tamsin Hopkins, as well, of course, as Diana, and sometimes Roger and myself. And Juliet Morton's personal view of the state of small presses and why we should all be buying and gifting poetry books. And Susanna Fitzgerald's wonderful essay on how to debug a poem. But you'll have to buy the issue to get the full flavour. So for now, we're going to hear a handful of our poets, so you can treat your ears to the words you may have already read on the page. My first up is going to be, of the four readers I'm going to introduce, is Rachel Spence. Rachel is based in Italy and the UK, and her latest collection is the Emma Press publication Daughter of the Sun. Her poems have appeared in the Forward Anthology 2026 and 2019, and on the BBC, The Verb, and the PN Review, and her brilliant poem is on page 12. Over to you, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Mary. Yeah, I'm so thrilled to be part of this. I loved The Alchemy Spoon. I'm not just saying that. I read your interview with Patience Agabi and Suzanne's fascinating deconstruction of her poem, which really helped me, and also many of the poems, which I loved. This poem, just to say, the first inspiration was a documentary about a farmer in South Lebanon who had been defending his land from Israeli bulldozers for many years. I saw it in December before the war started. I don't know what's happened to him. I suspect it's not good. He spoke about his goats in a way that I found heartbreakingly moving. I also quote Mahmoud Darwish, who is the great Palestinian poet. Okay, it hasn't got a title. sensorless days, unredacted, sun like a cockle shell, sky so blue and brittle I could snap it in two. Practice for someone who needs your love and energy. Practice for someone else. My teacher's voice, always in my head. Practice for small beings. It's summer in my mother's garden, a bumblebee burrowing into the petals of a Dijon rose, my palms pressing into my sweat-stained mat. Mahmoud Darwish asked death to be nobler than the insects. Perhaps he meant the bulldozers that march through Palestine like ants, the drones that gut the Gazan night. Perhaps he saw a fly worrying the eyelash of a baby goat, farmer's hands grasping its downy neck as he lies the kid across his knees. She has a soul. They all have souls. I cannot leave them. The fly mapping the farmer's arm as he inscribes his world. Red earth of southern Lebanon, old light, silver chime of olive leaf, the herd's soft bleats and rustles. Flies gone, farmer remains, camera panning close as he recalls how he's faced down Israeli bulldozers. My father farmed this land, my grandfather before him. His sheepdog's eyes burn with protective fire. The bumblebee has flown, a lifetime of my words less useful than the pollination it enacts this afternoon. And yet, my mother sleeps, wakes smiling despite pain because I'm there. Gentle as if she were his child, the farmer sets the kid back on her feet. I clasp my hands, bend at the knee, fold slowly, stiffly into humble warrior.
Thank you so much, Rachel. That was absolutely stunning. I think poetry is such a powerful way, a powerful tool for uh, political messages, and you conveyed that so beautifully, and especially ending up with the warrior pose. Thank you so much. And we're going to stay with the a slight political bias right now as we move on to Claire Lynn's poem, which is on page 28. Claire has taught English in China in the late 1980s and now teaches in Northumberland. She's been shortlisted for the Forward Prize for Best Single Poem, came second in the Dyslexia 2024 Poetry Prize, and won the Metro Poetry Prize 2023. So Claire's amazing poem, which I know you're going to enjoy, she'll tell you about it, intersperses newspaper quotes with the poem, and it's on page 28. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here with everybody. Yes, so I was teaching English in China with VSO at the time of the students' movement and the Tiananmen Square massacre, and we were evacuated that summer, and then came back in late August, expecting, to start a new term with our students. I was in a teacher training college, and two very disconcerting things were going on when I got back. One was that these cockroaches had moved into my kitchen, hordes and hordes of them. And the other was that term wasn't going to start because the initially all the teachers were in all day political re-education meetings for, I think, a couple of weeks. And then when the students came back, the same was going to happen to them before we actually went back to teaching them English. And although I was sort of a very long way from anywhere really in Hunan province, my students were also involved in the protests in their own small local way. So that's what this is about. And the extracts are taken from Beijing Review, which was an English language publication. It was a sort of magazine. And so it's very much the government line. So I imagined that it was similar to some of what my colleagues and my students were receiving in the way of political re-education. So this is all true except for what's not true, really. So yes, so I've juxtaposed the poem with extracts from this article, and it's called Rumours because the article was called Rumours and the Rumours and the Truth. So there's a little epigraph which says, some of the rumours at that time were widespread and incendiary. There is no analysis or comment here, only facts, so that readers can judge for themselves. So that's quite ironic. Rumours. That summer, during the months of my absence, cockroaches settle into my kitchen drawer, clambering over packets of noodles, away from the sudden light when I open it. The accounts of many eyewitnesses on Tiananmen Square and videotapes which have been broadcast repeatedly on China's TV stations show that from June 3 to June 4, the turmoil in Beijing developed into a shocking counter-revolutionary riot, and the massacre on Tiananmen Square is a complete rumour. For 2 days I avoid cooking, turn up to neighbours at noon. They offer me bowls of clean white rice, vegetables in rich, fragrant sauces, then struggle back through searing sunlight to the political re-education meetings. In the small hours of June 3, when the martial law enforcement troops received orders and marched into the city to safeguard social order and protect public property, they were blocked and obstructed by masses of people and some students who did not know the true nature of the situation. Until, mocking my squeamishness, a friend hauls the drawer out and bangs it upside down. Rocking from foot to foot, she stamps on cockroaches, but not so fast as they fall. In the main streets leading to Tiananmen Square, a great number of rioters who mingled with innocent onlookers incited people to obstruct the troops and to beat and kill soldiers, armed police, and public security personnel. In order to quell the riot rapidly and avoid still more casualties to themselves, the soldiers were forced to fire and shot some of the brutal rioters. A clutch of escapees clings to the inner walls of the unit. She lights paper torches to thrust about within the drawer space. Sooty flakes drift to the floor and half-singed beetles fall and limp for cover. When she checks her watch, it is time for the afternoon meeting. Because the rioters were mixed up with onlookers who did not know the truth, some onlookers were accidentally wounded. In the process of quelling the riot, nearly 300 died, including army men, rioters who had committed crimes, civilians who did not understand what was happening, and 36 university and college students. Abandoned, I find a half brick to drop onto the surviving cockroaches. Better this than the stiff squelch of death underfoot. In the early morning of June 4, when the martial law enforcement troops were clearing Tiananmen Square, most of the demonstrators withdrew of their own accord, and a minority of people were driven away. An eyewitness said, "In the whole process of the withdrawal, I did not see any student, civilian or army man killed. Neither did I see anyone run over by military vehicles. Once the purge is complete, I sweep the bodies into the bin, take the drawer onto the balcony to scrub.
That's a brilliant, brilliant poem, Claire. Thank you so much. I think we're all absolutely riveted by it. You read it so well. And we're now going to move on to our window boxes and bees and Ken Evans. So Ken's poems appear in Magma, Acumen, Orbis, and Under the Radar, The Interpreter's House, Frogmore Papers, High Window, Poetry Scotland. Where have you not been published? He was runner-up in the Daily Telegraph Poetry Competition 2026, and you can find Ken's poem on page 13. Look forward to hearing it, Ken.
Thanks so much for that lovely introduction. Thank you, Mary. Um, my poem is probably a bit less about bugs and more about bugbears, and slightly more, perhaps irreverent after the powerful readings from Rachel and Claire, for which thank you, and I'm looking forward to hearing the other readings later. Um, my poem's called How to Stop Drones Surveilling You at Your Window Box. Don't shoot. You may miss and cop an aeroplane, and the debris destroy next door's conservatory. A laser pointer will blind a drone. The green eye screws with their algorithm, tricks them, senseless. Your t-shirt designed with eyes and eyebrows can confuse their facial recognition systems. Train your eagle. The talons have scales to resist the blades. Intelligence chiefs practice this secretly. Jam their frequencies. The talons have scales to resist the blades. Sorry, I've repeated myself. Apologies. Jam their frequencies. Hack them into swivel-eyed spins that thresh their air to fat, resistant cordage. Their four wings make an X that makes your spot, that marks your spot, but not if you shut the curtains. They cannot beard you in your home. Let your bees be still below your window. There is precedence. When bearding occurs in overheated hives, drones hang on the chin of an entrance to cool a queen. Hum tunes of wingless victory. Thanks very much indeed.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank
That
you.
was that and it followed on perfectly the surveillance from walls, drones. Oh my God. So yes, and I'm going to spend a weekend where there are a load of beehives. So I'm going to be seeing other kind of drones.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving on to my fourth poet is Vicky Morris, who is a British Welsh poet, editor, and creative educator. Her debut pamphlet, If All This Never Happened, won the Fool for Poetry chapbook competition. Her poems are widely published, including the Rialto and the Poetry Review. Vicky's poem, Consider the Antlion, is on page 14. Over to you, Vicky.
Hi everyone. Oh, I'm not very well. I said that with much gusto, but I'm got a bit of a rubbish cold. But anyway, thank you so much to the Alchemy Spoon team. So an antlion is a tiny insect you find in sandy places across the world. I think they do appear in the UK occasionally. It digs little funnel traps in the sand and waits at the bottom of these traps. And this poem relates to a documentary I watched about them. Ooh. Consider the Antlion, after Cheryl Pearson. We do not know him well, or do we? I watch his documentary, the sand architect who drafts his circle to a fine-grained spiral, a deep funnel mouth open to the sun. How he leans into gravity, then waits, a geometry of patience, a pit priest buried in the jawline of the world, ready for the one who comes too near. One tremor, one flip of ant foot, and the earth forgets itself. Like I do when you ring at that moment. Tell me you're sorry I got sucked into the vortex of what you cannot name. I hang up. On screen, the ant tries to climb the angle of the slope, made just the right side of unstable. Its walls loosen and suck. The antlion rises up from his lair and flicks a small avalanche of persuasion. Each time the ant finds her footing, the edges give way. I text you, no net, no snare, no chase. On screen, only a sand slope, so precise, it becomes a promise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicky. That was really beautiful. And I really appreciate the fact that even though you're ill, you have come here. It's fantastic. Can we give all my 4 readers a quick round of applause? So if you all want to quickly unmute just for a quick clap. And so it's thank you to Rachel, Claire, Ken, and Vicky. Fabulous start to the evening. And it's now my pleasure to hand over to Diana. If you could all mute yourselves again. Thank you.
Actually, I think it's over to Roger, isn't it, next?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I read the wrong running order.
Yeah, is it you, Roger, next?
I'll go any order. I don't mind. Whatever Mary says, but I think it is me. So it is I. Yeah, a fantastic set of poems there from Mary's poets. I've got another 4 poets who are going to read to us, and I think what we found with this issue was the amazing variation in interpretation of the theme bugs. So there are lots of different themes, different poems, different styles. And my first reader is Rowena Warwick, and she's our featured poet. So when you buy the print issue, you'll find she has 2 poems on page 23 and 24, and she's going to read one of those to us tonight. Rowena's an award-winning poet, long listed for the National Poetry Prize. She won the Bridbort Flash with a piece conceived as a prose poem, and came to poetry from a long career in the health service, from which she has almost recovered. Over to you, Rowena.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone at the Alchemy Spoon, and also thank you to all the people who've come here this evening to support me. I'm very grateful. So the only thing you need to know about my poem is that a bug algorithm, it's called bug algorithm. A bug algorithm is a class of algorithm that helps robots deal with motion planning. Bug algorithm. Robot, you are that singular point existing solely in a world of 2 dimensions. Clear rules extend you a simple life, a path only towards existent, non-existent obstacles. Released from the effort of prediction, the terrors of anticipation, your assumption is only ever of possibility that when, if you hit those nameless obstacles, they will be non-convex. You won't need to bend to them, alter yourself. Just carry on, clockwise, until you see the goal again. Your starting point clarity is a given. The fixed reality of delivery, your cry so easily understood. The goal poses more difficulty. It comes closer now, the inevitability of your conclusion. All you can do is encounter each obstacle, progress around, and go on. The goal is in sight now. Repeat.
Thanks very much, Rowena.
Thank you.
And a fascinating topic as well. My next poet is Sarah Jane Gray. Sarah describes herself as a reclusive London artist reborn after a late autism diagnosis. She found the landscape of poetry a sanctuary to explore the alienation of her condition and its dark wonders, and has taught her passion for the Gothic at the Versary and published with Fair Acre Press. Sarah, over to you.
All right.
All right.
Hi, yeah. I'm just having a little bit of internet problem, so I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yep, we can.
Yep. Thank you. This is my first officially published poem, so I just want to thank Alchemy Spoon for this opportunity, and it's been brilliant to be here and to listen to the reading, so thank you. My poem's called A Stinging Likeness, and it's about grief, but it's also how, you know, the big emotions we carry around affect the other people in our lives as well. I remember his size, huge like a mammoth, like a mountain, a man made of jaw and stride. He said the dead walk by our side. My father's tread into gravel was heavy and crunching as I trotted along without a sigh. I remember riding high on his shoulders over Welsh Banai, up to the peak, the top. Child, he'd say, child, look at the view. And I would look into the mist and deep, but would still feel small, stood at his feet. I remember at nightfall he'd pull me from pitch tent, sit me on park bench and point up to the stars and the white stripe of sky and explain the size of the wide Milky Way blaze. I cried as he said, our son too will die. I remember trying to warn his giant frame as he bent over and sat, flattening a yellow and black wasp into the back of his camping chair, screaming as he scratched where it had stung. Being stunned, he'd just shrugged it off. I remember dying inside as a 13-year-old child at the sudden sting of his death, like the death of a star, his supernova blast cast across family ties and regaling you, years later, with tales of my father's colossus, sanctified. I remember feeling guilty that no matter how hard you tried, you could never live up to my teenage eyes, desperate to look up to him again. Until one day, your gaze as black as his, your arm, swollen, welt, red. I didn't even flinch, you'd said.
Thanks very much, Sarah. And again, if you buy the print edition, you'll see that set with a beautiful illustration that accompanies it from one of our brilliant artists who give their work free to us, which is excellent. My next poet is Sarafina Umbeyo, who's a Congolese refugee and writer based in South Africa. Her work traces the fault lines of identity, inherited trauma, and self-reclamation in a diasporic life. She's founded Novel World, a technology hub, and is pursuing international human rights law. For her, poetry is both a testimony and a resistance. And probably the furthest poet I think we've got, maybe, my geography's not that good. Over to Sarafina.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. So I wrote Butterfly House while I was thinking about my childhood home, being a refugee and displacement. Writing this poem felt very close to home, in a sense. Yes. So I'll do my reading now. Butterfly House. Its walls are coated in laughter. In its deepest tone, there I hear Mom's voice, loud on Sunday mornings, music behind each command, dress or we'll be late. The windows are a shell of the early morning sun, the one that dreams of childlike hope, the one that reminds me of dreams. The floor is still stained with ink and crayon, from where we used to imagine endless possibilities, where I was the wife, the doctor, the princess in a trapped castle. The house now a hill of sorrows, a cocoon it once was, a butterfly it has become.
Thank you so
you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you. And I'm glad your internet sorted itself out in the end as well. It came over very well. So my last reader is John White. John White graduated with distinction from the MA course at Newcastle University, and he's had poems in numerous publications: Ecrastic Review, Frogmore Papers, New Writing Scotland, Broken Sleep. He was long listed in the 2022 National Poetry Competition and is published online by Natural England and the Ouse and Adour Rivers Trust. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate being published in such a beautiful magazine. It's really a lovely edition, this one. My poem's about the other kind of bug. I was ill when I wrote this, and I had a virus, and my breathing's not great, as you'll gather from the poem as well. I think I should say that I've been writing a lot in terza rima, which is, for those not so familiar, it's a form with interlocking rhymes between the stanzas. And I say that because there was something really satisfying when I was ill, writing something with a structure. It kind of grounded the illness in a way, and I that came into the poem, as you'll hear. So this is called Inhaler. So I must fashion something out of illness, rasp of cough, gasp of breath, a structure to contain, to turn to stillness these sprawling symptoms. Call back from death the old poets with their measured voices and calm rhyme. I want some hope to hold beneath the words, to conjure joy from the choice, to set them in a pattern, as if life had some. Curtains drawn, I get up heavy, just the noise of my mind's chatter, grasp the inhaler, grim rhyme with no end. Is this all? Outside, there is nothing but the soft fall of leaves, the sun of 1,000 autumns, the energetic fizz of sparrows as they feed and settle, the dome of downland rolling on, and the big black metronome of the crow's wing flapping home. I welcome this world that sits beyond awareness. Bring it back to myself with this small poem. My breath held this day in the smallness of birds, in the opening palm of the hill, in the grace of leaves as they curl and fall. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. And again, can we perhaps all unmute and show our appreciation of 4 excellent poets? So we are going to hand over to Diana now. However, just to say that I'm in email correspondence at the moment with Finola trying to get her on. So I think if you start off with your second reader, and then I'll see if we can get her sorted.
And hopefully she can fit on the end. Okay, fine, thank you. Well, I'm introducing at this stage then 2 people, and the first of those is Alan Ashley. Alan, lovely to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Alan's poem, if you've got the copy in front of you, is on page 35, and it's called Bug Love. Alan's a British Fantasy Award winner, and his poetry and fiction has been recently published in The World of Myth, Words for the Wild, and Sign and Verdon. He writes a classic film review blog for the British Fantasy Society, and he's the founder of the SFF group Clockhouse London Writers. Alan, let's hear your poem.
Thank you very much. Lovely to be here this evening. And yes, it's a fantastic looking volume. This is my poem. It's called Bug Love. Come to me with your mandibles, my green leaf munching love. Glue me with gossamer, honey my lips. Pin me with pincers. Attend even to my evacuations. Roll away, roll away. I have known your secret society only from outside or above. Bring me within. Wrap me, cocoon me. Make me king to your queen. I said I would give you babies. These soft white eggs on leafy underside, soon to be a frolicking mass of grubs, they do not resemble their father. You tell me in a buzz, in a chittering, that their real father is time, the endurance to last since before the dinosaurs, and well after man. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. That's fantastic. It's lovely to have some humour in it too. So next I'm going to introduce Gabriella Brand. And her poem, if you want to read it, if you've got the copy in front, is on page 19 and it's called In the Fold. Gabriella's writing appears in literary publications such as Room in Canada, Fordite, Australia, New Haven Review in the US, and Shuli, India. A Pushcart Prize nominee in both fiction and poetry, Gabriella lives in Connecticut, where she teaches languages and kayaks whenever she can. And we're delighted to have you here from across the pond, Gabriella.
Thank you so much. Of course, I feel totally inferior to all your beautiful speaking voices and accents, and I just love it. It's hard to be an American these days, as you know. I'm so happy to be welcomed here. My poem, it seems to me to be, well, I love bugs. Okay, I just absolutely love them. But this poem is about probably a bed bug, which is a really insidious bug. In the fold. She's wearing dark glasses in all the photos from the honeymoon. A week before, while sleeping in the arms of a former lover, not the man she was about to marry, she was bitten in the fold of her left eye by a spider, or perhaps one of the bed bugs that sneak between the sheets of New York hotels. She woke up with a swollen face, her eye all puffy pink as a sow's teat. When she boarded the plane for Geneva, the flight attendant noticed and suggested covering the eyelid with a warm tea bag, which didn't accomplish much. The next morning, when the plane began its descent over Calvin's city, her vision was so messed up she could hardly make out the contours of Lac Le Mans. Was she being punished for her transgression? The rest of the trip proceeded apace, as they say, which meant lots of consultations with médecins and apothecary, and very little diversion. The new husband didn't exactly sulk, but he hardly smiled. The eye cleared when she returned home. Years later, she considered her temporary blindness as a metaphor for her behavior. But by then, the marriage was long over, and she had absolved herself of sin.
Gabriella, thank you so much. I just love that. I love the sort of laconic tone of it. It's a delight. Thank you so much. Roger, do we have Finola? Is she around?
No, I'm not getting any responses to the email, so I've sent about 3 with a link in it, but no reply.
Oh, okay. So maybe we should just move on, and if she arrives, we can ask her to read at the end of the right. Okay. So those were my depleted 2 poets that are to introduce, but now we're going to move on to we've instituted an open mic slot for the first time this time, and we asked for people to volunteer and put their name into a ballot, and we have potentially 5 people, I think, although I think one of them is caught on a traffic jam in the M2. As Kate materialised, or is she? She's still
on the
absent,
M2.
is she? She's still on the M2. Okay. So, in which case, so the four people who are going to be reading are Viv Fogel, Sue Spears, Rachel Klein, and Rhiannon Thomas. And I'm not going to read their biographies or anything. I will just call them one by one for them to introduce themselves and their poems. So, we're delighted to welcome, first of all, Viv Fogel. Please.
Thank you, Diana. This isn't my usual style of poem, and it came out of a workshop, really. But it's based on what bugs me in a relationship, and it's called Grua. It's on page 50. For he can never say yes or no, but maybe or dunno, perhaps. Let's play it by ear, or we'll see. And if I ask him how it went, or to describe, or did he enjoy, he'll say, okay, so, not bad. And if I inquire what our mutual friend has said, he shrugs. Can't remember. Nothing important. Nothing much. And so I wait for a sign, a spark, a tiny clue to break through his numbing pain, the brain fog, his disconnect. I wait for his wide grin, his gap-toothed smile, to open and spread its warm light like that late, unexpected winter sun.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's absolutely delightful. And I just, I suppose the obvious comment is something about the different direction that people have taken, in which people have taken bugs. And that's yet another one that we haven't had yet this evening. So that's great. So now, Sue Spears, if you'd like to unmute and read us your poem, please.
Hello. This is a workshop poem from January writing hours with Kim Moore and Claire Shaw. And the structural poem was tell us about something you don't want to be and then tell us about what you do want to be. And I went for the butterfly version. Transitional stage. I don't want to be a butterfly. I don't want to flap in chaos or be that small moment that leads to disaster. I don't want to live off nectar, sipping through a tube like a car crash victim. I don't want to be eaten by a raptor, minding my own business on buddleia or lavender, or get pinned by a lepidopterist, completing a display of rare species. I don't want to signal climate change because I'm no longer there. I want to be a chrysalis, safe in silk, hanging disguised in a shriveled leaf, changing but never emerging. I want to slowly digest what I used to be, create imaginal cells, which sounds like imaginary self, be a pupil in my pupil's stage, and learn from breaking down. I want to transition to, but not reach. I want to hold within myself the possibility of uncertainty. Will she, won't she become? Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. The possibility of being held in silk sounds very attractive these days, I think. And now we move on to Rachel. Rachel Klein, if you would like to read your poem, please.
Yes, certainly. Yeah. What an incredible range of poems from one subject. This was, again, a kind of fun thing, but there's something about the insect in it. Dragonfly, it's on page 15. Larvae, uncurl, mouth part, soft squidge, thorax, turd body, bottom feeder out of every corner of my eyes that have many facets to see food in all direction, food free to eat, food more fatter, no food escape my jaws. Then transmogrify, split skin, rise, full, unfurl, four-wing, pulse fly, light glit, pond life, no more, air swim, glist, shiny, rainbow frock, assassin.
I love that. Rainbow Frock Assassin is just marvelous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a queer writing workshop, which goes in these sort of places.
And so our last open micer, I think, is Rianne Thomas. Rianne, if you'd like to read your poem, please. We'd love to hear it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me in such a beautiful publication. This is from a series of poems I wrote about the various species of moths that we have lost in the UK since the beginning of this century. At the time I started writing them, I believe there were 7 confirmed extinctions. I think that number has gone up considerably since then. This one is called Brighton Wainscot. And in his book, Moths of the British Isles, Bernard Skinner notes that it is resident and suspected immigrant. During the day, large numbers have been disturbed during harvesting. The machines were at the gate when we first trapped them. They were like feathered souls, resisting to the last in our killing jars. We laid them out, made our reports from lines stretched in a surrender they never agreed, added up their reach, their span and capacity, declared them drab, consigned them to the backdrop of human furniture. Border dwellers, settlers of the edges of fat, stippled fields, they occupied the place where the plough turns, gleaning what you didn't know was there. The theft was recorded, as they all are, the vagrancy, but we thought nothing of the moment when, even through the tractor's roar, their flight in a glinting downy cloud could draw the eye upward for a moment. Our accounts paid forward our God-given dominion. We preached improvement, enfolding margins into wealth, fields into data, into combat. How should we reckon the thinning of the sky, the dimming of our own wide selves with the loss? Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very beautiful, Rianne, but also very telling. Maybe we can all unmute now, can we? And really show our appreciation for such a wide range of poems and poets. Just fantastic. I'm going to pass over to Roger briefly, because I think you're going to say something about Substack and the Alchemy Spoon, Roger?
Yeah, it's in the nature of an advertising break. Not about soap powder. Yeah, so for those of you who get as far as the back page of the magazine, which is difficult because so many good poems, you don't want to be bothered with the stuff at the end. It says there that we have a Substack page, which we do indeed. It's at The Alchemy Spoon on Substack, and it's free, and you can subscribe to it, and you'll find on there occasional reviews that we haven't managed to fit in, reviews that come after we've gone to press, interesting blogs, discussions, and all for free, which I encourage you to subscribe to. But as from the next issue, we're introducing something else, which is there will be a button that people can press to do a paid subscriber. And with that, you get access to all the other stuff I've just said. But what we will be doing is putting the PDF flick version of the magazine behind that. So if people want to subscribe to an online version as well as, or instead of the print version, then they can do that by subscribing to that. And that's particularly useful, I think, for overseas poets, because at the moment the postage overseas is absolutely crazy. It costs more to post it than it does to buy the magazine to most places. So as from the next issue, if you go onto Substack and you want to buy the PDF edition, which comes as a sort of flipbook thing, so it looks very much like the magazine just on your screen, then do subscribe. And that's the end of the advertising break. Back to Mary, to Diana, sorry.
It's nearly the end of the launch too, so I'm just it's been it's my pleasure to round it all up. And I was just looking in the chat, and everybody's commenting on the extraordinary variety of poems, and the way you've all taken this in such a varied direction. And I have to say that when we first proposed this theme, we weren't at all sure how it was going to go, but I think it's absolutely exceeded all our expectations, so that's great. So the theme for the next issue is child. And I guess we're hoping that you're going to do similarly and take it off in all sorts of different directions. And of course, what we're looking for, isn't it always, is, something surprising, something unusual, humor. We like humor, that's fine. I suppose what we're not looking for is sentimentality, but I don't imagine any of you would do that anyway. But we eagerly await any submissions that you want to put in. The submission dates are from June the 1st to June the 30th. So we look forward to anything that you want to send us. So really, it just remains for me to thank everybody for coming, and thank you all for submitting, and what a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much.